Welcome into a new edition of PTN Extra. Got a whole lot to talk to. Mike Irwin joined me here this week. Mike, great game for Arkansas last night. Maybe a little touch and go there for about a 5-minute stretch or so in the second half, but for the most part, Arkansas really putting its foot down.
That game was really fascinating to me because I've watched A&M a lot. What do they call it? Buckyball or whatever it's supposed to be.
Nolan Richardson with more threes. That's what I like to call it.
The thing about those guys is that they won't go away. I've seen them before down 15 points, and next thing you know, the game's even because they're relentless. They'll wear you down, especially in the second half, and they'll start forcing turnovers. But Arkansas, what impressed me was the way Arkansas flipped the switch on those guys in the first half. They were the ones forcing the turnovers, and it looked really good. And I think they got up to 15, and then in the blink of an eye, it was back down to 9 at halftime. And that was just sort of a kind of a preview of what can happen with these guys. I had people calling me and texting me on my phone, fans and friends I have. Well, what's wrong with Acuff? He's not scoring.
I think 1 for 11 he was to start the game.
And I said, have you watched his defense? He's playing the best defense of the year. Relentless. And that was my explanation, that he was trying so hard to really play good defense on those guys and was effective that it was affecting his scoring. But I told him, I said, hey, wait till about the 10-minute mark. In the last part of games, when it really matters, he'll take over. And he did. He's just consistent. Yeah. That's just what he does.
Yeah, late down the stretch, he really started to shine. Head coach John Calipari getting on the mic after the game and saying something that's getting a whole lot of attention. As you mentioned there, Darius Aoff, strong down the finish. Not a great start. Cal's comments gaining some traction and showing some love to one of the best players in Arkansas history.
Look, I'm a little disappointed, and I'm not trying to put more on the kid. Why isn't he in the equation in the player of the year in the country? What are you saying? Why would you say he's averaging as many as all those people? He's got 6 assists. He's got 3 rebounds. He's doing things in the guts of games. Yeah, maybe they are, but he is too. So why isn't he being mentioned? He's playing when he could probably take some time off games, and he's playing anyway. I mean, he goes through the shoot-around and only does half of it so he has enough to play the game. Like, should he play down in Florida? Probably not. But I'll tell you right now, if I said you're not playing down there, he'd bust out laughing. You're out of your mind.
So there you have it, Mike Irwin. John Calipari playing the part of campaign manager, trying to show some love, trying to drum up some interest in Darius Aoff Jr. as the National Player of the Year. How do you feel about that?
Well, he's got a chance to move up. Arkansas is going to have to move up. That's just the way these people are that vote on this thing or, talk about it. They're going to look at the top 4 or 5 teams, who's the best player on those teams. They're going to get all the love. So Arkansas is going to have to do better and move up. They're 20th right now. They got to get into the, almost the top 10, I think, for him to get a shot. And he's got time to do that, but the team has to do it too.
Cal made some great points, though. The guys that are getting the love, the Cam Boozers, the DeBances, I'm sure there's a bunch of other people, Peterson in Kansas, a bunch of other people I'm leaving off here. Acuff's numbers are better. I think he's leading the SEC in points and assists. And yeah, sure, they're talking about him as an All-American candidate, maybe even first-team All-American. And yeah, he's going to get his Player of the Year whenever he walks up there on stage and he's a top 10 pick in the summer in the NBA draft. But why no love for him, man? As Arkansas goes, Acuff seems to be right there with him.
I just think what I said. I think there's a component to this. It happens with a Heisman every year. It's hard to win the Heisman if your team's not in the top 10. So I think his chances for being Player of the Year go up as the team goes up. He can do it. His numbers are already good enough. The thing they're overlooking, and what I would look for if I were picking a Player of the Year, is I would look for consistency. I don't want some guy that scored 35 in one game and 12 in another. Go look at Acuff's numbers game to game to game. He's right there around 20, 21, 22, over and over and over again. And look at what he does when the game's on the line. That's the other thing. I don't believe there's a player in the country more valuable to his team than Acuff is to Arkansas.
Yeah, and to me it was good to see last night that when he kind of didn't have that A+ game, they were still scoring. Billy Richmond, right there. Malik Ewan really gave him some good minutes too.
That's why I feel really good about and Cal's been working toward this all along. I've told people this. I've said it on this show. that he is more concerned with everybody playing their best basketball at the end of the year. And so he's done some things to try and make that happen. He sat Ewan a lot, and he put Pringle in front of him, started in front of him. Well, now look where Ewan is. He's motivated him. He said, look, your practice habits are bad. Mm-hmm. You want to start, you want to play more, you got to give me more in practice. So he is, and look what he's doing now. Obviously, the injury situation triggered Billy Richmond, but I think that I don't think he was ready to do what he's doing right now earlier in the year. I think it happened at the right time, and he seized the opportunity. And look at what we've got right now, because in that game, Acuff gets his 22. Thomas is down a little bit from his season average, not much, 13, and his average is 15.2. 14 for Brazil. His was up because his is 12.7. But Richmond, 23 points, his average per year is 10.9, and Ewan's average 9.6, and he scores 18. And then here's the X factor in that game, and this is something Arkansas fans need to keep an eye on. Wagner, since he's come back, has played a lot better. He scored 9 points. That was important to have. So you got guys that are scoring 22, 13, 14, 23, 18, and 9. You're in a lot of games when you do that.
Starting to feel pretty good about their depth. And if Acuff hasn't gotten enough love, he's going to have a wonderful opportunity here this weekend. At Florida, College Game Day will be there. I would assume they're going to have a big feature story on Darius Aoff in that show. Stage is set, Saturday night, prime time, defending national champion, basically first place in the conference, pretty much on the line. What do you expect from Arkansas when they head to Gainesville on Saturday?
Well, I think they'll play their best. The point is, will it be good enough? This is a very different kind of game than they've been having to play. They've been playing all these games where you had to worry about inside scoring, but also guard that three-point line because you can get beat that way too. Florida's not a good three-point shooting team. In fact, they're not really all that good at all. 47% overall, 30% from three. Arkansas's numbers are much better, 50% from two, 37.5 from three. This is all about their two bigs, their forward and their forward center. Those two guys are out rebounding the fool out of people. They're getting second and third chance points. They're drawing fouls. They're getting you into foul trouble. It's not just Arkansas's bigs that are going to have to play well against those. You've got to get those guards in there and strip the ball away some. Get it away from them when they're starting to try to go up. And they were doing that against A&M. So I think the A&M game was a good prep for this one. It's going to be tough. Florida lost by 9 points to Auburn late January. That's the only loss at home they've had all year. They haven't lost since. And there's only been one game close since then. Kentucky got within 9 of them. Everybody else got blown out. So that loss to Auburn was like a slap in the face to them. It woke them up, and they've been almost untouchable ever since. They just roll over people.
Yeah, Arkansas has such a wonderful opportunity. You look, this would probably be their biggest win of the year when you factor in the stakes. The Texas Tech win is great. The Louisville win is great. The way they beat Vanderbilt, that was great. But they can send a message nationally that we are a Final Four contender. And they're going to a place, the O'Connell Center here in Gainesville. They've won one time since 1995. Granted, tough place to play. Florida, 3-time national champion dating back to 2006.
Well, they've historically had a great program, but 30 years since you've won there. They've
won there one time.
1 year.
30,
That's right, one time in 30 years. So that's daunting. But again, if any team can do it, I think this one can. I'm not going to say they can't do it. I still say Arkansas is not winning the league because if they win this game, it will motivate Florida. They're not going to lose another one, and you still are going to finish a game behind those guys if you win out. But this is all about ultimately where you end up, what's your seeding in the NCAA tournament. We've talked about this before. I think right now they're, a 5 seed projected?
Yeah, they're in that 4, 5, maybe a 6 family right now, but about 5.
And you don't want to be a 5, so you want to be either a 4 or 6 historically. But you're better off being a 4. And I think they're in a good position to be a 4 seed.
The dreaded 5-12 game. A lot of people point to the NCAA tournament as you're talking about seeding so important. They try to keep the top 16, top 20 teams close to home. Oklahoma City, St. Louis,
Right.
those are the
Better
targets.
for your fans.
Where you think Arkansas can get there, something that's drivable here?
Yeah.
They'll probably have to be at least a 4, maybe even a 3. And I only say that because you look at some of the teams ahead of them. Michigan, Texas Tech, Iowa State, maybe Kansas is in there. It's just a bunch of teams. It's very crowded that are likely ahead of you that are also vying for some of those same spots.
Yeah,
Houston.
It all depends on the selection committee and how important it is to them to create good atmospheres wherever you're at.
Yeah.
I've gone to the NCAA tournament. I haven't done it in a while because I don't travel that much anymore because I work part-time. But when I was, in the prime of my career, I was going every year wherever Arkansas was. And I can tell you there's a real difference in the atmosphere when you're at the arena and when you're watching it on TV. Because it sounds like a conspiracy theory, but they're doing something with the crowd noise at some of these, because I've been to some of these places where it was dead, absolutely dead, and I went back and watched the game on replay on television, and it sounded pretty exciting, like the crowd was really into that. It's not so much that they're empty seats, because there aren't. You get local corporate seats bought, and then people show up for that, but they don't know who to pull for.
A lot of money involved in that tournament, absolutely.
Yeah, and they don't know who do we follow here. They generally will kind of root for the underdog. So if you're the underdog, that's good for you, and bad for you if you're the favorite. But I've seen atmospheres. I was up in Boise one year. It was just deader than a doornail. I was like, ugh. And then I got back home and watched it on television. You couldn't tell.
Tell you what, if I'm a big money booster, the private jet kind of people, San Diego, Tampa, that's kind of where I want to go. I don't know, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, all due respect, but man.
Oh, it's Oklahoma City. You're going to have some people there.
I think St. Louis, too, huge alumni base. Certainly what's Oklahoma City, 3.5 hour drive? Maybe if you drive like Mike Irwin, maybe 3 hours? I don't know.
National championship year. Started off in Oklahoma City and then went to Dallas. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. People there for those first two and got them to the Final Four.
And I think that, along the lines of what you're saying there, that could be even, Mike, the bigger element to what Arkansas is doing here. Chicago has a region final. That's a direct flight. Drivable, not quite. Houston, direct flight, 9-hour drive. Reasonable play. Big alumni base Chicago for Arkansas. Big alumni base in Houston for Arkansas. Those are the places you want to be, as opposed to, I believe, it's San Jose, Washington, D.C., something like that on the other coast. Don't really want to see that. So to me, I think that's a little bit more important. Also, I'm a selfish guy. Buffalo's got a region. I've been to Buffalo a bunch of times.
I mean, they're getting publicity. Look, I was watching the PGA event in, I don't know, somewhere in Florida. I can't remember where now. But on the morning feed, Lisa Cornwell was one of the two announcers. She's from Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. She didn't play golf at the U of A because they didn't have a women's golf team at the time, so I think she went to Tulsa. But she's a huge Hog fan. And she was one of the two announcers in the morning feed. And she's on there interviewing a former Razorback golfer, Echeverria, that was warming up. And all they did was start talking about Cal and the basketball team. They stood there and just publicized
I think Arkansas was the third most watched team in the country. They released some of the rankings there.
Yeah, I mean, Hog fans are everywhere. And I mean, they're just, everywhere you look, there's somebody that's a Razorback fan that's from here. They're down in Florida now. She's down working for ESPN and doing these golf tournaments. She's a Hog fan, man, from Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Hey, wherever they go, people are going to show up. A lot more to get to here on PTN Extra. Talking the Arkansas baseball team. A little concerning, Mike, what happened against Arkansas State. That's coming next. Back here on PTN Extra, Trade Air, filling in for Evan Camico, joined by Mike Irwin. Just got done talking a whole lot of basketball. Now moving on to baseball. Mike, they had a 2-game series against Arkansas State team they had never lost to. The weather was pretty good. We had Dan Scoff telling us, runs can be hard to come by on Tuesday. The wind, if anything, was blowing in. And Arkansas State shows up, and they tune up Arkansas's pitching. Really, the second inning was where the game got away from Arkansas. You take that away, it was pretty much an even game, but we can't take that away. That still happened. 12-4, and then on Wednesday, they do bounce back. Good pitching performance. Scoring runs, a bit of a problem. What's your takeaway from these last 2 games?
In that Tuesday game, Arkansas State scored more runs total than they had total in all the previous games they had played.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, more runs.
Then they played Arkansas.
Yeah,
okay.
in those previous games. I've had people tell me, and they're trying to argue the point, it's not that big a deal because, like, a guy called me last night and he said, look, pitching and defense, that's what wins. And I said, okay, but you got to have some hitting. And they don't have hitting right now. You don't believe me?
It's been extremely inconsistent.
Go look at the stats. Arkansas is 15th right now in the SEC in hitting. 15th.
Wow.
Okay. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of midweek games, and I'm not a big guy to go look up. I don't spend time looking at stuff. I want somebody to tell me, when was the last time Arkansas scored one run in a midweek game? One run. But on the other hand, when was the last time Arkansas pitched a
combined one-hitter?
A one-hitter in a midweek game? Because you don't expect the pitching to be that good, but you expect the hitting to be a lot better. This is a strange baseball team right now. If they come around at the plate, they'll be fine. But Dave Van Horn admitted after that second game, he said, yeah, it's a concern. We got to figure out what's going on there. And it's not like they had to replace everybody. Now, look, they did have, apparently, no one's confirmed this, but they apparently had the flu going around.
Yeah,
and they withheld some people. And so their lineup was not the way it's going to be. But you still had 4 or 5 guys, and it varied from the 2 games, that are the upper part of your lineup, and they weren't delivering in that series. And so, yeah, you can look at the bottom part of the order where you've got 4 new guys. Whenever it gets settled, there'll be 4 new guys in this lineup. That's still 5 returning Razorbacks, and those 5 have to hit better. Yeah. They're not doing it right now. And this triggers this thing. It comes up every time Arkansas is not hitting. Everybody's mad at Nate Thompson because it's his fault, because they're swinging for the fences and trying to hit home runs and they're striking out too much. I don't know that there's anything to that. You'd have to be down there, be in that program to understand what's happening right now. But that's the way the fans react to this every single time. I mean, if you go back and look at them last year, their batting numbers, 305 batting average, hit a school record home runs. You had nothing to complain about last year with this team at the plate. They had a tremendous year, and yet
they were 32-4 at home last year.
Yeah,
so they were unbelievable.
But now you're back here, and everybody in 1 year they're mad at Nate Thompson again. I guess he turned into a bad coach overnight. You know, I'm not sure.
We were down there on opening day. They played Oklahoma State in Arlington. Leadoff double. Ryder Helfrich, I think it might have been the first pitch he saw, crushing one over the fence, and you think, here we go.
Right.
You know, not gonna skip a beat. But really, you take away that Oklahoma State game. You take away that Sunday game against Xavier, they're not hitting.
Yeah.
They're not scoring runs.
He's not. Kojal's not. Micah New, who I think is potentially a really good hitter, his batting average is bad right now. It's below 200.
Aloy has gotten some big hits. He's about
Aloy has. You know, they still got to figure out how they're going to work this thing. Who's the DH? Is Aloy going to stay out in right field? There was all this talk about he couldn't play right field. He was in a scrimmage, and the fans were talking and freaking out back when they had a preseason scrimmage, and he dropped a couple of balls, and they're going, he can't play out there. Well, he's been out there a while now, and he hasn't made any errors. He slipped and played one of the balls wrong, and I think it was the second game with Arkansas State, and slipped, still made a great catch. He's had a couple of throws back into the infield that were good. So he's playing that position okay. I think he's going to stay there. The only question is who's in left field, and I think Sousa's going to stay the DH. It just doesn't look like his arm's ready to kind of throw things the way he is. Pompey at third is a concern because he's not hitting the ball, but he is a good third baseman.
Yeah, you mentioned the flu or the sickness that was going around. Van Horn saying after the game, DeCreamer, the starting pitcher, sick as a dog, still only gave up the 1 hit.
Yeah, that was impressive.
The relievers came on, and they were really untouchable. But to show how serious they took that game, Parker Coyle, Steele Eves, maybe more so Coyle, these guys are going to figure into weekend roles. And Van Horn kind of knew, like,
he
hey,
was using them in a big way.
we're going all out here. And I guess they kind of had to. Arkansas State, really, they touched them up pretty good. And in fairness, too, this looks like it could be, or a Razorback show, I get it. Looks like it could be a pretty good Arkansas State team.
Yeah, they're big and physical.
Old. Kind of the way in the transfer.
Older team, unfazed by anything. They just kept coming back, trying to figure out how to make things happen. So, yeah, it's not like Arkansas. I will say Arkansas hasn't played any teams that just rolled over. Everybody they played has been pretty competitive, and Dave Van Horn has a reputation for doing that. He knows what's going on out there in the world of college baseball every year, and he doesn't tend to schedule teams in this pre-conference period that won't help them get better. And you don't get better by just rolling over people. I watch a lot of SEC games that don't involve Arkansas. Not the whole game, but I watch 3 innings here, 3 innings Florida, A&M, different, and most of the teams that those teams are playing are just rolling over.
Love the response to start the game. It looked like they gave a crap, had a perfect first inning, right on base right away, scored the run, and then unfortunately really couldn't scratch anything the rest of the way. Got UT Arlington coming up this weekend. Beautiful weekend at Baum Stadium. As good a weather as you could ever imagine in late February. Going to be in the mid-70s. Supposed to be sunny. Should be some really good crowds. Excited to see it. Same for softball too, and they've been really killing some people, Mike. More to get to here. We're talking about big date games in football, in basketball, how it relates maybe to the rest of the sports realm. That's coming up on PTN Extra. Back here on PTN Extra with Mike Irwin and wrapping things up. Mike, the Olympic gold medal hockey game really catching the attention of the entire country. Got me thinking about something. Best on best. That's what we want to see. And I feel like in the realm of sports, maybe you're not seeing that quite as much. And when I talk about college basketball, college football, the sports we really care about here in Arkansas, yeah, basketball, I think Cal in particular, they really have tried to play a loaded up schedule. I'd like to see some of those games on campus. But at least they're playing, the Houstons, the Texas Techs, the Dukes. That's a lot of fun. And then we had the Duke-Michigan game 1 week ago, the number 1, number 3 teams in the country. Something you hardly ever see. I can't remember. It happened when I was a kid. But never do you see non-conference games, approaching March or in February. That used to be a little bit more common. Not anymore. Why are people scared to play good teams? Because I keep on hearing in football of how a lot of these power schools are rethinking how they schedule with 9 conference games, et cetera. I don't want to see Arkansas play Missouri State. Yeah. I want to see Arkansas play Utah. I want to see them play Michigan. I want to see them play Notre Dame. I don't really care if they lose the game. If I'm buying a ticket, I want to see a big brand.
Yeah, I think it's more common to see a game like that in basketball because you're not going to get as hurt as badly if you lose.
Big sample size, yeah.
But here's the problem with football. It's like, and Texas is trying to do this now. They're basically saying, hey, we're not going to, and the number of non-conference games that you can play against a so-called win has been reduced to 2 because you're now losing a non-conference game. You're only going to have 3, and it's been mandated by the league that you play a Power 4 in one of those other games. So you're only reaching a point now, if you're in Arkansas, where you may have 2 guaranteed wins, which is what they ended up with last year. So I can see where you don't want to do that, but here's what you've got. Your money is coming largely from the TV people. They're not going to give you a bigger contract, more money for each school if you don't give them what they want. And they don't want to see Arkansas playing, SEMO or somebody. They don't want to see those games. They want, if they're going to put you on TV, they want to be able to sell the spots that are in the game, and they can't sell that if you don't have good ratings for that game.
The data to show the people who are watching the game.
So it's just inevitable that we're headed toward this. That's why virtually everybody I talk to says I'm nuts, but I think the answer is that you expand the number of teams in the playoffs so it doesn't hurt you as bad if you play these games. That's what basketball.
Well, then what about automatic qualifiers, maybe? Well, and by automatic, like, hey, the SEC is guaranteed 5 teams, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. If the SEC and Big Ten said, look, we're gonna expand to 20 teams, and guess what? We're gonna have 10 of them. Half of them are gonna belong to our conferences, and everybody else gets mad. But they're the ones that the TV people want. Those are the games that are going to draw and make money for the TV people. Yeah. So I think that the powers that be understand money. The athletic directors at these various schools and the conference commissioner, they all understand money. And if you want money, you're going to have to play these kind of games.
So a year ago, you got Texas playing really its best football of the year. Really looked like they unlocked Arch Manning there by the end of the year. I felt like at the end of the regular season, they had the best loss in the country. They lost to number 1 ranked Ohio State. And again, at the end of the year, things had changed. I felt like they had the best win in the country, beating Texas A&M. and they still got shut out at 9-3. And this is what I have a problem with, so I got to get your opinion on it. If Texas had beaten Ohio instead of losing to Ohio State, do you think they would have been in the playoff?
Yes.
They shouldn't be punished for that because they went out on a limb and they gave the TV executives what they want, and we saw the Longhorn logo in Ohio Stadium. They shouldn't really be punished by that. And all this information we have with computers and algorithms, there should be a way to figure that out where they're not really punished.
Well, again, the solution is what you talked about, automatic bids. A number of SEC gets in 5. We'll decide who those 5 are, Yeah. But we get 5 in, Big Ten gets 5 in, and then everybody else gets the rest of it. Might even be more of an imbalance than that. They shouldn't be punished for that, but they were, and that's why they're talking about playing these pud knocker games now.
And who does that? Like what coach recruits kids saying like, hey, come here, we're going to play lesser competition? Or what fan is like, all right, yeah, Arkansas and Pine Bluff, that's what I'm going to get excited for. We want to see better games.
Yeah, I mean, the fans want it too.
You want it. You're a fan.
Sure. I understand why as a coach you don't want to do it, because you're sitting there saying, look, every game we play can't be a game where we can get beat if we don't play our best game. You just can't get up every single week. But, I mean, Cal's doing it in basketball every time you don't get a break in the SEC. The bottom part of the league, anybody can beat you. I mean, A&M's down there, but they were good. Yeah. That was a tough basketball game. So, the old days are just gone when you can play 4 non-conference games and all 4 of them are winnable. Therefore, all you got to do is win 2 conference games and you're bowl eligible. That's just not happening anymore.
Right, and it always comes back to the bigger picture, talking about money. It's like, well, oh man, Arkansas, thank goodness they're in the SEC. But really, like, what are you doing? Oh, look at all the revenue, look at how much money we're making. What are you doing with that money? Like, yeah, I know it's great you're not in the Southwest Conference anymore, but you're not really contending the way you were in the Southwest Conference. So you got to take that money and do something, find a way to compete. But that's a totally different argument. You got some schools in the conference like Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky. They play a non-conference power game plus an in-state rival. You're talking 11 games against power teams. I think Georgia Tech and the ACC, all 12 games, going to be against power teams. Would you like maybe, and I think we're closer to this than further from it, would you like the idea maybe Arkansas, a school like that, 10 SEC games, 2 non-conference games? That would make scheduling a little bit easier. All right, now we don't have to schedule as many big boys out of conference if we have 10 conference games.
I don't have a problem with it. I think that the league has to decide to do it, so you got to gain support for it. And I don't know how much the coaches have to say about it. The ADs will eventually decide that. But if they go to 10, they go to 10. I mean, they could go to 12.
A lot of questions we got unanswered, and they could change every single day. He's Mike Irwin. I'm Trey Dare. Out of time here this week on PTN Extra.